All right. It is indeed a very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the Call. It is the 2nd of December 2022. Tarehe pili mwezi wa 12 mwaka 2022. It's only how many days to Christmas? 23 days to Christmas. Merry Christmas. Poleni tumeanza kama tumechelewa leo kidogo. Really apologize. Ensure that this doesn't happen again. All right. Well, as usual, Nijoni, please like when you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is the Sharia Wiki edition of the 2nd of December 2022. And we are with Daktari EKURU AUKOT. Na pia tuko na jamaa wetu hapa wa T-KASH. Tatuambia mambo ya Hustler Fund. Kulianda Haji as part of the team building up the Hustler Fund. He'll answer all your questions. There have been a lot of FAQs on Hustler Fund since it was released. And KARANI OBETELE is joining us this morning from T-KASH, and those are some of the guys who are building the framework on Hustler Fund. He'll help us to understand ile kitu inazunguka huko nje ni story. That's why we now need to speak to experts, and also we get into the legal issues. As by the theme of the show, every Friday we talk about the legal issues around the legal frameworks around the issues that affect you, and also we link it up with the state of the nation. And always, Dr. EKURU AUKOT helps us to put that into perspective. Dr. EKURU AUKOT, that is the party leader, punguza mzigo. Sasa tunaenda punguza mzigo kwa sababu tunataka kuanza tena. Tunataka kurudi kupunguza mzigo. Lakini chama ni third way.
Nasikia Hustler Fund inajaribu kutupunguzia mizigo. Lakini lazima tujue ni mizigo gani watupunguzia.
Unajua Wakenya wako punda amechoka. Sasa unajua punda, zingine hata unanunulia punda soda ndio endelee kusonga. Kama kaida tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe haraka upesi alafu tuingie. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. You should be glorified your name. We thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for this conversation. As we have it, may it edify the fabric of this country. For we pray, trusting and believing. Amen. In other news as well, the PSs were being sworn in this morning after the very quick vetting of our day. So we're having new PSs this morning. It was 7 a.m. Hey, William alisema mapema ni best. Imagine.
What 7 a.m.
Hey. So I even believe by 8:30 these guys will be working in the office. Should be in the office.
I think the beauty of that is that we don't have much time to waste, because I think formation of this is probably the only government in the most recent history that has taken so long to form. Because I mean, look at for example, the vetting of cabinet secretaries, PSs right now. It's taken a bit long, and I think there's another element that's coming along. The chief administrative secretaries. I think we have not done the appointments on ambassadors' position and stuff, and many others. So it's really taking long to put this government in place. And it's probably related to so many political promises that William Ruto and Rigiji are struggling to fulfill.
Sasa liona jana ulikuwa na swaga mahindi ba. It is in the videos on Rigiji and the president enjoying their cup.
Maybe now to just contextualize this conversation, like discussing with my brother Karani earlier. Even Mama, like they paraded that, was it Mama Samaki? And then I think, I'm looking at, maybe we should just delve into this Hustler Fund. And maybe Karani can walk us through. He's already managing another fund called T-KASH.
Yes. Thank you very
much. Karani.
Thank you very, very much. It's a plum pleasing pleasure, Bonabi Talk and Daktari, to be here with you today. And, just looking at how can we ensure the Kenyan is aware of what is going on, aware of what this Hustler Fund, officially known as the Financial Inclusion Fund, is all about. And looking at the statistics as we stand today, as at yesterday, we had about 408 million shillings disbursed to over 2 million Kenyans. And we also had about 8 million shillings having been repaid.
7.7.
By 7.7 million, that's right, by Kenyans back into the fund. Just a demonstration that the Kenyans are willing and that they are able to borrow and to pay back and to do something with that fund that they've actually been able to give into.
I think we'll start by you helping us understand, because when you speak about, it has a background, you speak about financial inclusion bill or financial inclusion fund. Is it bill or fund?
It's a financial inclusion regulation. Yeah, and it's a financial inclusion fund.
Maybe you can help us understand that framework.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So of course, building up with the manifesto of the government at hand, one of the important things that they wanted to do is to at least have a lot of financial inclusivity across every segment in this country. So whether you're a pastoralist, whether you're a farmer, whether you're a biker, you have an opportunity to participate in the financial system of the country. Now, how we would do this and how the government was going to do this very, very quickly, of course, is to establish this fund, which gives access, first of all, on a personal level. So it's structured in 4 ways. There's a personal loan product, which is what has currently been launched and is working. There is SME product, which will now be for the small and medium enterprises. So SME is small and medium enterprises. Yes. And that just gives you an opportunity to access money so long as you have been in business for some time.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there is a startup fund. And Kenya, as you've seen globally, has now become a really hot spot for startups. Okay. And you have all these innovative solutions, and people are seeking to get funding for this. And they normally would go to seek for this money outside. So this financial inclusion fund will also provide an opportunity for people who have startups to be able to access money for them to run their business. Now, for it to be enabled, it had to go through a legal framework. Yeah, and the legal framework or the legal instrument that has enacted this is, of course, under the Public Finance Management Regulation. And therefore, it enabled formulation of the fund. And now what the formulation of the fund has enabled the government to do is to operationalize the presidential directive of capitalization. And therefore, we have an inclusion of the people who are in the bottom of the pyramid having access to these funds. The second one was to provide capital for these persons to be able to get access to credit, and the credit is affordable. The third thing is you now have an opportunity to participate in the saving scheme of the government, okay? And as a local Kenyan, part of the money that you borrow, actually 5% of the money that you borrow goes into savings. Yeah. And that savings is further split into short-term savings and long-term savings. And the short-term savings is accessible to you, and that short-term savings will also earn interest. That money is going to be used, is going to be invested by the government in government securities, and you'll be able to have interest accrued to it. The long-term savings is going to go into your pension, okay? And also what that has enabled the government to do, if you look at the economic and social rights under Article 43 of the Constitution, is that now even your local mama mboga will have an opportunity to have social security, okay? And opening up the path towards universal social security. And following on that, you'll also be able to have universal health coverage as a follow-up into the coming year. So this fund and this regulation is enabling the government to be able to achieve all these things for the local mwananchi. Bwana Bitok.
Me, I want to be practical. We try to tackle things here head on. Let's be very practical. I'm a nomadic pastoralist from, say, Lokitang or Lokichogyo, those far remote places, or I'm a fishing guy from Lamu. And my capability to borrow could be limited to just 500 bob, yeah, up to a maximum of 50. And that depends on the, if I decide, okay, from a personal level, Kenyans are pressed with daily needs. People, these days, Karani will tell you, need to meet at 200 bob in Nueunga. Yeah? Now that there is this fund, if somebody is going to borrow this money to just sustain themselves, to feed themselves, how will they repay? What is the sustainability of this business? I'm just hoping that it is not another political promise that will actually collapse. Yeah. Just walk Kenyans through a typical Jamha. First of all, we are dealing with about what? 70% unemployment rate in Kenya?
Yeah.
Yeah? Meaning, those people have no disposable income.
Or no income at all.
There's no income at all. And people are struggling with daily. I was giving Karani an example, which I shared last week, that for the last 3 weeks I've been trying to experiment using Uber, Bolt, and Yego. Now there's Yego.
Yeah.
There's little cabs. So depending on my area of operation where I go for my meetings, my average fare has been 210, 170. So I ask a guy, I mean, come on, walk me through. I know fuel is 174 per liter. You've just charged me 170 Kenya shillings. The owners of this app, they take at least 20%. How do you service this car? How do you fuel it? How do you maintain it?
And how do you even eat yourself?
Exactly. So and then what do you take home? So I'm trying, Karani, what I'm trying to say is let's draw parallels from, of course, the state of affairs of the economy and the state of the nation, and also with other existing funds. What is so different about this? Because from what you explained, it's promising too much. But when I look at, for example, the capability of somebody to borrow, you've talked about social security, saving. I mean, how does a guy who is struggling, a hustler, actually, let's talk about hustlers. How does a hustler actually save?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's a really, really important aspect that really needs to be debunked. Looking at the eligibility criteria for you to get into this financial inclusion fund, hustler fund, it's really, really very basic. All right? You have to be 18 years. You have to have a mobile line, right, with any mobile network operator. And that has to be at least for 90 days. Okay? You obviously have your ID card. You obviously have a location. This is the entry criteria that the Hustler Fund has for you, okay? There are other parameters that, of course, are under consideration, but the basic entry criteria is this. And if you look at the number of lines out there, I think there are approximately over 50 million lines. Someone may have, at least you have 2 or 3 lines, but uniquely, the target population is about 22 million Kenyans. So there are 22 million Kenyans out there who have a line. And each of these 22 million Kenyans actually automatically qualifies for this fund. If you look at other products existing in the market, you'll find that you have to have an existing demonstration of financial or economic activity. So either someone has sent you money, or you've sent someone money, or you've spent so much money in calling, so you spend so much money in credit, or you've spent so much money in buying data, okay, for you to qualify to get that credit. But for this Hustler Fund, you don't need any of those, all right? That is the eligibility criteria for you. Now, once you have that, then you automatically get a limit, all right? And that limit now is allocated to you as what is called an application limit. We use your application behavior, okay? The basic limit is 500 shillings, like you rightfully said. And these 500 shillings, what you get dispersed to you is 95%. So for 500 bob, you'll get 95% dispersed out to you. That's about 475 shillings. Okay. So the other 5% is what I said now goes into your saving. Okay? So this is now the government helping you to save the money that is otherwise allocated to you. Okay? And that's the one that I've said is further again split into 30% and 70%. Okay? Now, the 70% is going to be matched, all right? Every time you borrow, you increase your 5% saving, you borrow, you increase that. It's going to be matched up to a maximum of 6,000 shillings, okay? They'll do 2-to-1 matching for that. And like I said, the other 30% is going to be invested, and you'll get interest, all right? So you'll have 2 things. You'll have the money that you have now, which you can use, but you'll also have an opportunity to get access to your savings, the short-term savings, and when you reach retirement age, you have an opportunity to at least have pension. Okay?
I want to be very practical. If my capability is to borrow 500 bob, and of course there's an expectation, there has to be return on investment. I'm investing that money.
Correct.
Yeah?
Yes.
That's my assumption. I borrow 500 bob today, and I have to invest in a business.
Yes.
But the reality, the realpolitik, my brother Karani, is that a majority of Kenyans are struggling. Lack of basic needs. Let's even take the price of unga, for example. Unga is how much? Is it 200?
It's come down now. It's
come
around
down,
150.
150. So if I borrow 500, Bob, because we're talking about the real hustlers, eh? I mean, by the other definition of a hustler is that people who are just jobless, meaning you're not able to invest in
Watafutaji.
or if you go into a business, its profitability
Yes.
is actually very questionable. Yeah. So a lot of guys will say, "Jama mtahani ako na simu tu, SIM card." And by these days, Karani, people at least invest in 2 lines. Kuna iko na mfuliza usitume kwa hiyo.
Iko na shida kidogo.
Tuma kwa hiyo. So me, I'm seeing this fund. It's very attractive. I mean, theoretically, it looks very, very attractive. But when I go to the practicality of it, I mean, like now, relating it to the socio-economic status of an ordinary Kenyan, I think this is a red herring.
Well, but even as you go to that
political hot hair.
Even as you go to that, there are 2 things that you mentioned. Of course, it's the criteria for wording of the loan, and many Kenyans have been concerned. For instance, when you saw when the program was going on, we saw the top leaders trying to apply for it, and I think the highest was 2,800 on the limit. The lowest being 400, 500, and all that. Personally, I've been trying to register for the last 2 days.
Have you gotten yours?
No, it's not even taking in. I tried to register yesterday. He told me to wait for 2 hours. That was a time like this. Now I've tried again.
Maybe I don't think you're within the 22 million Kenyans. You're obviously not a hustler.
So
they're funding a target hustlers.
Hustlers, not us.
I don't know how they mapped out who are hustlers.
So I would be interested to know, first of all, how is it that we have different limits? Because you mentioned that unlike other lenders, they don't try to analyze your transaction histories. They just give you money because you applied. So how is it that we have this this difference in qualifications for credit from 500 to other people? We're talking about 1,500, 2,000, 2,800. The president was 2,800, I think, the other day. What gets, even as you tied up with what EKURU is bringing out?
Yeah. So remember I talked about credit appraisal, all right? And the basic entry level for this fund, of course, for any ordinary person who is 18 years, has a line for 90 days is 500 shillings. But you, Bonabitok, and you, Daktari, you guys transact quite a bit. You make a number of calls.
Well, you're making assumptions.
You buy data.
We're also hustlers.
You buy data. And there are other Kenyans like you who also are in that particular bracket, okay? And therefore you find that in the credit appraisal process, we have considered that, all right? And that's why you find that there is a variation in the amount of credit that is given to you at application, okay? And so we consider your inflows, we consider your outflows, and like I said, we consider your voice and your data utilization. How many calls do you make? How often do you use the internet? That's why, Bonabitok, you have this variation in the limits applied to you at the first one, what is called now your application limit. But if you borrow and you repay, all right? Because then now the second criteria is how do your behavioral scorecard. We look at your behavior. You borrow and you repay, you borrow and you repay. Then now you have an opportunity of growing that limit from 500 shillings up to the maximum of 50,000 shillings. All right? But I just want to come back to the points that you raised earlier and looking at the accessibility of this fund and the amount that is actually credited to you, as a hustler. And the definition, of course, of a hustler, like you put it, I would want to add a bit more into it. Yeah, you wake up today, for example, you go to Farmer's Choice, for example, you buy your packet of smokies, all right? You go to the market, you buy your nyanya, your kitungu, you cut, and you want to sell, all right? Now, if you look at you having just that 500 shillings, yeah, it enables you to have an opportunity to at least account for that packet of smoky, the 25 that you bought, all right? And you would come and you would sell each, at about 20 or 30 shillings. So by the end of the day, if you look at that type of a hustler, right, then they have an opportunity to borrow in the morning, transact during the day, and pay back. So you find that now they are able to get this capital injection onto them, and at the same time, savings is also going on. Tomorrow, they can go back and borrow the same. And since they've demonstrated good behavior, they are now able to get a higher limit. So they were buying 1 packet, now they can buy 2 packets. They were buying 3 fish, now they can buy 4 fish.
The reality is this: if there's no thriving economy, if there are no economic opportunities or activities, even the idea of buying and for you to be able to sell is a mirage. Because if I'm not able to generate some income, how then do I even buy your merchandise, those smokies? Because I think that's the sad reality on the ground. Like I was asking you earlier, walk us through, for example, I'm a nomadic pastoral from the northern part of this country. And now the assumption is that I'm able to access to this fund. Yeah? So I log into it, I borrow my 500 or my 3,000. The economic activity around me, first of all, what is that economic activity that I would be able to engage in to be able now to repay, as opposed to me borrowing to make sure that I feed myself? Yeah? Unless maybe after feeding myself, I can generate some income. I don't know. I just want to talk about the practical reality of certain regions, for example, in this country. The assumption is that you're able to borrow this money, engage in a small business, or be able to repay it. Because even if you borrow 500 bob, the guy who borrows 500 bob, by the way, what kind of business will he engage in to be able to repay? That could be maybe a guy who chomas mahindi, even samaki. I don't think samaki, even that mama they paraded, that mama samaki, they paraded doing that. Samaki cannot be that cheap. If you look at the cost of transportation, where does she get the samaki from? Say it comes from Kisumu or Coast or whatever. Factor that cost. Because the assumption of the ASLA fund is you engage in a business and economic activity that now spurs economic growth. But if I look at some regions in this country, say the arid and semi-arid lands in this country, I can borrow. First of all, I don't think anybody in the arid and semi-arid lands qualify even for the 50,000. Unless they actually engage in an economic activity that will generate an income for them to be able to repay the loan. Majority of guys are actually surviving. They want to eat. I mean, we're talking about unga kwa meza. So mtu kama huyo akiomba hii pesa, first of all, ataomba kiasi gani? Na hata akiomba, what activity will he engage in or she to be able to repay? Those are the questions that are troubling me. Yeah. And I think many people are actually asking those questions.
These are real questions, Dr. as you rightfully put it. And even as the show is going on Barnaby Talk, I'd like to say that the way you borrow is by dialing *254#, and you can do that on any network, Telcom network, Airtel or Safaricom. Yeah.
Kataa kabisa. It has refused me. Bado ikuji.
I think they can smell you.
Uko na network, wewe umeangalia.
Network iko.
Now let's come back to that is a real question. Again, I say the local pastoralist in Kapedo or in Teso, where I come from, right? So long as they have a mobile phone, then they have access to at least 500 shillings at the minimum. Okay, and so they are able to access that money as it is. Reality, like you said it, is that the past 3-4 years have really been very difficult for very many people, not only in Kenya, but also globally. If you look at the economic shocks that have been there as a result of the Ukraine war, as a result of COVID itself, a lot of businesses had to close down.
It's true.
This is the reality. If you look at the environmental impact that has been there due to drought, it has left very, very many Kenyans under a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. All right. Now, it so happened that there has been a convergence of all these issues. At the same time, now you have the Financial Inclusion Fund being launched. Okay. And it has come at a time for relief for very many Kenyans, I would say. Like I say, why? Because everybody has access to this money. You don't need to know anybody. You don't need to apply anywhere. So long as you have your phone, you get access to that. You don't need to ask for any qualification. You don't need to do that. So long as you have a phone, you have access to that. Now, this money, its intended use is to ensure that we provide for you a seed a seed that you can be able to turn around and be able to have something to eat and to be able to have something to go back to work tomorrow. All right? Being also cognizant of the fact that the pressures have been many, people have to eat. All right? And people have to travel. All right? And it's okay for them to do that because that's exactly what they need to do. And that's exactly the pressure they're feeling now. Okay?
Okay. So let me ask you.
And payment aspect of it.
That's where I was coming back.
Exactly.
I was coming to that. Now, remember...
Because this is not free money. Like Prezo said.
Yeah.
Kuna pesa bure.
Yeah. Remember, this money is intended to revolve. All right? And it is intended to grow. That's the intention. Now, you have an opportunity to repay. All right? And your opportunity to repay is clustered in about 3 ways. The first one is if you repay your loan from day 0 to day 14, then you will be charged an interest rate of 8% per annum, which is 0.02% per day. Okay? If you are not able to repay within that timestamp and you have until day 30, then you're charged at an interest rate of 9.5% per annum, which is 0.026% per day. Okay? Thereafter, you have up to 1 year wherein you are able to repay your loan. Okay? And because we know people want to grow their limits, all right, then that's why this opportunity of repayment has been put. Of course, there are certain penalties that may be applied to you if you go beyond the boundaries of the repayment dates.
For instance, I would want us to walk through the application process on my phone. Yeah.
To my brother Karani, he has actually used a very interesting word. It's a relief fund. There's actually no difference with the World Food Program. Secondly, because if within 14 days, looking at the state of the economy, I'm not able to pay at 8%, 0.02%.
Yeah.
Then within 14 days, I attract another 9.5%. Okay? I have no economic activity. It's relief because I'm relieving myself of nja, transport, and all that. Isn't this, my brother, mzigo tunatuongezea through this fund? And I see a situation where we'll end up like the 4 million Kenyans who are on who are delisted just not long ago from the CRB.
It'll be taken back to CRB.
It will be taken back to CRB.
And I think I don't even tying it up with that, brother. Is okay, fine. This is a facility that's supposed to go into enterprise, as you've rightly mentioned it. That's supposed to go into small and medium enterprises to ensure that they can help you get through the billing of the day, maybe the stocking and all that. But now it's a mass. It's a mass facility. Imefunguliwa, kila mtu anaingiza pipe mahali anaona. Whether you're in business or you're not in business, everybody is tapping in and taking in the money. Even before you answer that, I would like us to walk through the process of application. *254 is my line. Okay. I've pressed it. What comes out? Welcome to Asla Fund. 1, register. 2, view terms and conditions. 3, view more. Okay, register. By accepting the terms and conditions on www.aslafund.co.ke, I think, do you agree to your information being shared with Asla Fund? Agree with the information being shared with Asla Fund. All right? I accept.
I have my relatives
and
my mother in mind.
Okay.
And that's a question of maybe education that Karani can tell us.
Talk that I accept that my information should be shared with Asla Fund. Now, the next that comes on the tab is enter M-Pesa PIN.
M-Pesa PIN?
Yes.
Why M-Pesa PIN?
Why M-Pesa PIN? Because you've built up, you've had a very beautiful build-up. In fact, telling me that I accept to share the information, so there is that consent. I've already consented. Then what are you asking me to share? Not my picture, not my name, not my ID number, not anything else, but my M-Pesa PIN. That is the worry a lot of Kenyans are having. Because this is where I transact my other money, which doesn't have anything to do with your Asla Fund. I have my money in America. Kama kuniuliza pin ya ATM ama ya bank. Why do you tie it up? Why is it tied up to my M-Pesa PIN?
Okay. So I may not speak so much about M-Pesa PIN and Safaricom PIN, but just as to the onboarding process, like you said. The first thing that we have to do is we have to be sure Bitok is who he says he is, all right? And Daktari is who he says he is. So we need to know the customer. We need to know who you are, and we need to be sure that you are who you are. Now, you remember a few months earlier on, we asked, there's a requirement that all of us must go back and we must re-register with mobile network operators. We must verify the authenticity of our identity, all right? And that exercise seek to protect you as a subscriber or as a consumer, all right? So that your identity is known and you have a security of your identity. There are people out there whose identity was suffering from identity theft, and you have persons who otherwise are also trying to scheme and to take your identity away from you, and therefore to benefit from your identity, either financially or just to use it for any other means. So the reason why you are asked to accept terms and conditions and put in a PIN is a process of validation, a process of knowing that the person who is applying for this hustler fund is indeed who they say they are, okay? And the way we can know that is your ID number is known only to you, your mobile number belongs only to you, and your PIN belongs only to you. Remember, this fund, as one of the good things that the regulation has provided for, is to do away with market distortion. Yeah, so we don't have any one particular person benefiting, because the fund, the way it has worked, it is a consortium of multiple players. All right, so you have us, the mobile network operators, Airtel, TELCOM, and Safaricom participating in it. You have banks, KCB and Family Bank participating in it. So we all had to have a process, a unified process, in which you are able to access this fund. That's why star 254 is the same across all the networks. There's no different code for Telcom, for Airtel, for Safaricom, okay? And the SMS that you get the notification, Hustler Fund, is the same across all the networks. So the user journey, all right, is also the same across other networks. And the reason why you are asked to provide a PIN is so that we can verify you are who you say you are. Hustler Fund is in no way related to your mobile money wallet, okay? So there are two separate, it's a product that has been formed, that is...
We talk to give an M-Pesa PIN.
That is dispensed.
I think you want to answer my question, because my M-Pesa PIN is not my identity.
Exactly.
It is not. My identity legally is my ID, yes. For instance, maybe my passport.
Certificate.
I mean, that is what defines my identity.
Yes.
My M-Pesa PIN does not in any way. And I want to understand that structure. At what point do you pull information about me, and where do you get it from? And when you speak about consent to share information, and I have consented, I would imagine that maybe the next step would be my ID number. Because now my ID number carries all my registration details, whether in lines that I have, mobile phones that I have, mobile numbers that I have. Maybe you can also use it to check my credit record, because that is what it's domiciled, like you're benchmarked against. I would want to understand, how does my M-Pesa PIN speak about who I am to Hustler Fund?
Okay.
Plus, you can actually have multiple M-Pesa numbers, like I know many people have, including guys in committee who actually will call you occasionally. Yeah. So, how does this fund then tackle multiple, for example, identity? Actually, that's a very pertinent question.
Very true.
M-Pesa number is not my identity.
Very
That's a
true.
PIN.
Yes.
So remember, like I said, the eligibility criteria is that you're 18 years old, you have an ID card, and you have a registered mobile number, okay? So the loan is issued against your ID card, okay? So long as you have your ID card, your loan account is against your ID card. And if you have one loan, you have to pay that loan before you take another loan, all right? Now, Bonabitok, I may not necessarily speak very much about the process that Safaricom has implemented, but I can confidently speak about the process that TELCOM has implemented.
Is it different at TELCOM? Is the procedure different? Because Kenyans are worried about data.
Yeah, the construct is the same, all right? But the procedure is slightly varied, okay? So, for example, in TELCOM, you, of course, dial star 254 hash. You are asked to accept the terms and conditions. Now, that is a very important part, all right? And in you giving your consent needs to be very specific. And like you read, you are consenting to your data being shared for participation into the Hustler Fund. Okay? And in consenting to that data being shared, when you say yes, and when you follow the procedure, because now for Telcom, after you accept the terms and conditions, we ask you to put in your ID card. We then ask you to set up a service PIN, okay? And that service PIN, of course, is what you use now to access the Hustler Fund. And you follow that journey through to the end. It's at that point that then your consent is given to the Hustler Fund management portal. And the Hustler Fund management portal right now is centrally being managed by a bank, and that's why you saw 2 banks present during the launch, and it's centrally being managed by Kenya Commercial Bank. Okay? Mm-hmm. So then now, that's the point where you get your data to be shared.
Kemboi Toy is asking a very pertinent question. And he's saying that, good morning, Team Taco, the Hustler Fund may be a game changer. Let's give it time. Fair enough. But he says, like BTalk, I have tried to register for 2 days without success. There are many questions, but let's have. But why is the registration really up? Because even I tried to experiment on it, and I wasn't able to.
Because actually, I have a Telcom line here. Yeah? So
yeah, could you try?
Let's try it again.
Could you try?
So star 254 Ash. Welcome to Hustler Fund. Select language. Chagua lugha. Haya, lugha ni Kiswahili. Lakini mkaongeza kale na Kiturkana. You are about to register to Hustler Fund. Accept terms and conditions to proceed. www.telcom.co.ke. Right? Yes, accept. Please enter your national ID number. Okay. Set service PIN. Fair enough. Okay. Confirm PIN. Nione niko na pesa ngapi naweza kula lunch. All right. Telcom message, your request cannot be processed at this time. Please try again later.
Is there Karani a way in which this fund is intelligence gathering? Because if they can tell intelligently that BTalk is BTalk, who he actually is, then he's is it actually
not at all.
The way I'm seeing this fund, let's just be let me play devil's advocate here. The way I see this fund is like betting actually. You see, in betting, you target a certain population, especially in our context. We're not talking about betting by billionaires or millionaires. Those guys who fly to Las Vegas or Southeast Asia to just go and do gaming. This is like targeting a certain population. And it's, I think at the end of the day, it's actually, 1, a money-making venture, but 2, it probably just collapse. And I like Kipto, like Kemboi said, me, I'm happy to give it time. But we're already seeing teething problems.
Yeah, not at all. It is not an intelligence gathering venture. All right, Dr. as you say.
So why is he not accepting this? and keep Kemboi for the last 2 days.
I'm trying.
I think it was a smart way of saying. I think let's Karani, we can accommodate Karani, but not BTalk.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So I've gotten. They have replied from Hustler Fund. Your Hustler Fund registration request has been received. Please wait for our confirmation SMS. Now, the confirmation SMS. An error was experienced while sending your opt-in details. Kindly try again later or dial 100 for assistance.
Okay. So you know, Bwana BTalk and Daktari. No. Like I said, we have a lot of Kenyans trying this out. Yeah. All right? Everybody. And this, this is just a testament as to how this is a real inclusion fund. Everybody is really trying out to ensure that they don't miss this opportunity. And I'd like to say, please keep on trying. All right? You will get your opportunity to be able to earn. I tried. I got mine. I got my 500 bob. I have repaid it. Nimelipa.
Ulitumiaje hiyo 500
we did one. Yes, hapo ndio tunaenda.
Yes. Unajua mimi.
You have to understand your bottom up story.
Yeah.
Unachukua 500?
Nilichukua 500 na hiyo 5% yangu ikaenda savings, nikabaki na hii 475. Alright, sasa unajua mimi ninafanya kazi huko Telcom, alright, na niko na opportunity ya kupata a way in which I can be able to pay back that money. So I may not necessarily be that real guy who wants to buy and sell. So
5% ilienda kwa savings.
5% ikaenda kwa savings.
Hata wakuulizi.
Hapana.
Wanaenda nayo straight.
Hiyo ulizwi, hiyo unaenda na wanapeleka straight. Alright? Lakini pia
ukabakisha 475. Yes, 475.
Yeah, so 475 nilitumia kwa matumizi yangu. Na matumizi yangu ni mengi.
Mambo ni mengi. Ulinunua airtime. I'm sure ulinunua airtime. Kama ulilipa transport. First of all, hiyo 475 hata haiwezi kufuelia gari yako.
Ina fuel.
Okay, 170.
Yeah.
170.
Inanipatia some fuel pale. Yeah, imenipatia some mileage. Alafu nikaweza kulipa. But just back to your query. So of course, like I said, it's a protection to ensure that the subscriber is protected, right? Against any other person who may otherwise want to use your identity. That's why it's your line, your phone, your PIN. Now remember, at the background, you registered for this line, and when you registered and you provided your ID cards, we took your photo, so we validated, and we are sure that the person who's opting into this fund is truly Bwana Bitok, is truly Daktari. Right? And that's really what we first seek to do, so that then you don't get an opportunity to be defrauded.
So let me ask, you see, this is us here talking. We live in this city, and we are able, we have the advantage of information. You know, I'm thinking about my mother in the village. How informed are people in the village about this?
Very good question, Daktari. Yeah. So part of a project, of course, is sensitization and education. All right? There is an elaborate sensitization and education program that has already been kicked in, and there are various ways in which you're able to access this information, various media. If we speak to the person who does not have access maybe to internet or to a television, then each and every service center, Huduma Center, each and every location for the national administration, be it the chiefs, will have an opportunity to decipher and to educate these people or the Kenyans about the Hustler Fund. So it's coming, Dr. It's coming. It will reach your place. That one I'm sure it will.
There's someone else who is asking here. So hii pesa ambaye inachukuliwa ni how many percent? 5%, right? Wasema kuna ingine inaenda kwa saving, ingine inaenda kwa malipo ya uzeeni. Haya, hii pesa inawekwa wapi? Ni wapi inakaa hii pesa? You said you can access. Where is it? Where can I access the money?
You mean your savings?
Yes.
Yes. So of course, your savings is available to you. Like I said, it's a consortium of partners who have been participating in this, and the credit provider on behalf of government, of course, is Kenya Commercial Bank, who are now the ones responsible, as is for disbursing these loans, and also for managing your savings as at now.
Okay. So iko mahali nimefunguliwa account kwa bank.
So uko nayo hiyo pesa, uko nayo umefungulia account.
So nani anafunguaje? Wanafunguaje account?
So
ndio pesa
when you opt in, your data of course goes to the central database hosted by KCB, and there is where your account is opened. So one of the features that you will see, and if there are viewers or listeners who are already opted in, they are able to do query savings balance. So they can request to see what their savings balance is, and they can have an opportunity to see that. Okay. Yeah. Now with
so
time,
if I adopted in, I could see those options.
you could be able to see.
I can access money.
Let me ask you. Ordinarily, I'm a layman when it comes to matters finance. If I borrow and it goes to my savings, the 5%, can I access it anytime I want?
So the 5% again is further split into two. So you have the short-term savings, all right, and you have the long-term savings, the pension one. Okay, that's 70%. So the 70% you won't access it until you reach the age where you are legally allowed to access it. Okay, and that 70%.
Which is that age?
I think it's about either 55 years or something like this, but I have to confirm that age. Yeah. So your retirement age
Basically,
is
it's the
when
retirement age.
Yeah, it's a retirement age.
They said it's 60, no 70.
Yeah, but I guess we could be able to confirm that one.
Okay.
So and that money is also matched by government. Okay, they do a 2-to-1 matching on that up to a certain maximum of 6,000 shillings. Then you have the 30% that now goes into short-term savings. Yeah, this is the amount. So say for example, you borrow 1,000 bob, you'll get 950. 50 will be taken to savings. 35 will go to pension. 15 will be available for you on short-term savings. This 15 is going to be invested. All right? And you will get an opportunity to earn interest on that investment. And when you are ready to take up your savings, then you have an opportunity to access it at the time that you want to.
Karani, 15% is going to be invested. Walk us through the character or nature of this kind of investment of 15 shillings.
Yeah. So remember, there are 22 million Kenyans, right? And if you were to aggregate 22 million times 15, it's quite some money, okay, for the first-time borrowers. And every time you borrow, then you grow your 15 to 30 to 45 and so forth and so on. That money is going to be invested, of course, as directed by government, and on different types of investments. Okay, but you will be able to get very, very good returns, and the returns,
which again, of course, will be redistributed.
Yeah, across
the
persons who have
22
saved.
million. Yes.
Exactly. And you see now this way you are also able to have your money work for you. If I was to put it that way. Yeah. As an additional feature, which will be ready in the coming days, you have an opportunity to do voluntary savings. Okay? So you have an opportunity to grow that 15 bob if you have the disposable income. Then you can be able to withdraw it with a good interest. If you look at my cousin who lives somewhere in Teso, they may have not had an opportunity to be included in the financial system. But now they have that. Now even they can be able to benefit from an interest that was only available to Banabitokia, who has a big bank account. And now they are able to also get that interest given to them.
You know, one of the questions, one of the things that has actually attracted me in the most recent past is financial markets. And I see it's one way in which people can actually they can get their money work for them, as opposed to money just lying in the bank, or putting it in a fixed deposit account. And then, of course, banks are trading with your money. Now, I'm thinking of this 15 bob that I'm investing. I'm assuming government probably will invest in maybe treasury bonds, government bonds.